everybody, Dutch Sense here. 1:55 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, August 11th, 2012. And we're over here on my Facebook page. I want to go ahead and show you guys an article here from CNN, and it has to do with the Louisiana sinkhole. If you don't know what's going on, guys, I got to bring you up to speed first of all. A few weeks ago, a series of strange geyser-like bubbles were erupting from the bayou down in a place called Bayou Corn, Louisiana, in south central Louisiana. And people there reported it to officials, and officials said they didn't know what was going on. It could be a gas line rupture, and they basically said, don't worry about it. Well, you move forward a little bit, a week or so, almost 2 weeks, and a massive sinkhole has opened in the same area. Okay? What they did then was evacuate all the people in the area and have told them they can't come back to their houses until they figure out what's going on. All right? And that kind of brings us forward to today. They are being told they don't know what's going on. All right, the officials don't know what's going on. And I want to thank Sheila Alien's video maker here on YouTube for getting this video out of the mainstream media down here in Louisiana talking about the whole story. And locals are demanding answers and not getting any. They're getting talking heads that are basically telling them they don't know what's happening. We're going to have to wait to see. People are still going to be evacuated for a little bit. Okay, the mainline story that we always get from officials. Okay, so here's a shot of the actual sinkhole that's developed, and I want to bring you forward just a little bit in the video here to this. All right, now what they're talking about here is radiation in the sinkhole. What they actually did, and they explain it in here somewhat, which is they actually filled up what's called a salt dome. Geologic structures under the ground called salt domes, and they're huge. And they're just like they sound, they're full of hard rock salt-like material that's able to be liquefied or cleared out with liquids to form a cavity. And then you can pump, they are pumping oil, natural gas, and other materials down into these salt domes for long-term storage. And we're talking millions and millions of barrels, not gallons, barrels of these petroleum products being stored down in these salt domes. Now you're probably wondering, where are they? Well, let me just bring you over to Google Earth here. Okay, we're going to go down to the Gulf Coast, and here's Bayou Corn. I just searched it on Google Earth, and this is what came back, so it's somewhere right in here. And let me just show you an example of a salt dome. All right, here we go. These are out to sea, along the sea floor, off the coast of Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana. And there they are, okay? These are the tops of the salt domes that extend off the sea floor. Now, there are several more that go inland. They're actually, I believe, mostly pumping in, filling these. They're not taking out too much. I believe they're filling them, and that's what they talk about when they talk about the strategic oil reserve. They are strategically placing that deep in the earth in these salt domes. Okay? Now, let me take you over to my Facebook page here. Now, the Assumption Parish Sheriff, Mike Wogsapak, said Thursday he is concerned about the sinkhole is close to a well containing 1.5 million barrels of liquid butane, a highly volatile liquid that turns into a highly flammable vapor upon release. And, quote the sheriff, a breach of that well, he said, could be catastrophic. Let me take you back over to the Google image. Imagine this cleared out and stored with liquid butane. Okay? Now imagine next to that liquid butane salt dome, there's another salt dome. They occur in succession, just like you'd see here, in a cluster. All right? You're not just going to have one lone salt dome. You're going to have a cluster of. If that butane releases, if this is anywhere close, if this sinkhole is anywhere close to another salt dome full of liquid butane, we have a huge problem in development now. Now, all that bubble off, of course, could be liquid butane. It could also be what was left in that sinkhole of radioactive debris before it collapsed. So, overall, what is causing this, you're probably asking. If you're from Louisiana and you don't watch my videos ever, you probably have no idea what is causing this. So let me just show you, okay? Now this is USGS feed of the most recent earthquakes. I have it turned down over the last 12 hours. Let's look over the last 7 days. And you'll see a series of earthquakes marked across North America. Now we have our typical West Coast earthquakes, which are picking up in intensity off the West Coast from south central California, going right off the coast of Oregon up here in a fresh lava field that is formed off the coast of Oregon. But you'll see a series of earthquakes that extend from the Pacific Northwest down through Yellowstone, a 3.2, and then going down through Colorado and Texas, and then you'll see another one up here to the northeast. Now, keep in mind, this is just the last 7 days. Now, if you were to connect all these dots, this forms the edge of what's called the North American craton. The craton is the unsubducted plate that exists up here to the north, relatively unmoved over a long period of time. And then you have the deformed edge of the craton that extends out to the sea. And that goes all the way down here through Louisiana and back up here along the East Coast. But when you connect these all, this shows that there is movement occurring along the edge of the craton. The craton itself is being pushed from the west. The subduction process, pushing underneath, pushing to the east, is creating stress. And unfortunately, a lot of these locations, for instance, down here at the Colorado-New Mexico border, down here in Oklahoma, also down here in Texas, you can't see it on this map, but a series of earthquakes have occurred, all at fracking or drilling or deep earth injection well operations. Why? Because, let me back this out, of what's occurring to the west. In the West Pacific, we have 4, 5, and 6.0 earthquakes occurring in succession every day, and this is just the last 7 days, a huge amount of movement. And it's spilling over to Europe, and it's spilling across up over Alaska, and you can see the spillover effect, the pressure that's building on the North American craton itself due to all the other earthquakes over here to the west. The compensation movement is going to occur. It has to. The Pacific plate is moving. So that's going to create stress at man-made drilling operations, dormant volcanoes, and that's where we're seeing a lot of earthquakes on the west coast, going up the west coast and in the southwest are dormant volcano locations, but that's a whole other video we need to get into there. We're solely looking at man-made drilling right now, and this shows it. Drilling operations, and now the Louisiana salt domes are experiencing the pressure. Now imagine, just for instance, that pressure comes in from the west, or from above, or from below. It could easily create a crack in the salt dome, which would then, over time, fairly quickly, if you release the right amount of gas, cause a massive sinkhole. And that's what all the bubbles were originally, were the bubbles coming out before the sinkhole fully formed. And the sinkhole formed on top of a salt dome that was containing radioactive debris. And next to this dome is another dome, per the sheriff, that contains 1.5 million barrels of liquid butane. Do I think that this is going to collapse further to cause the release of the liquid butane? Well, unfortunately, we don't know how far apart those are. We can see naturally occurring, the salt domes occur right next to each other. Literally, sometimes right on top of each other or overlapping each other. So the real question is, from the authorities, is where is this liquid butane, this massive salt dome that's filled with liquid butane? Where is it? How far away is it? Is it right next to it? If it's right next to it, we've got a massive, massive problem on our hands. If it's a few miles away, we might be okay. We might be okay. But even a few miles, you're looking at, it would need to be fairly far away to not experience the pressure that's occurring along the entire edge of the North American craton. And we're going to see it release in areas where it's weakest first. So fracking locations, drilling locations, injection well operations, and unfortunately, salt dome operations, which means that we have a big problem down here to the south because there's no way they could ever get all that out. No way. They pumped way too much in just by the sound of it. That's just my own opinion, okay? So there you go, guys. That's what's going on. Now, one other thing I would like to touch on really quick since we got Google Earth and the place marks. All the mystery booms and rumbles up here in the north central portion of the craton. If you imagine the edge of the craton itself, going from the Pacific Northwest, just follow all these yellow place marks down here to the south and back up here to the north, that puts the mystery booms and rumbles pretty much right in the center of the North American craton, if not the center east. And what do all these locations have in common? Well, for instance, North Illinois, at the nuclear power plant here, a radioactive release, a series of mystery booms, and an earthquake recorded. Move forward a few months, radioactive release detected here in North Indiana, mystery booms reported throughout Michigan. And then you get up here to Wisconsin, and you have the Clintonville mystery booms, no nuclear release, but definitely mystery booms reported up here as well. So this is the center of the craton. Now think about it for a second. If you have a large amount of movement happening all along the edge, a series of fairly sizable earthquakes occurring along the edge, you have down here to the south, salt domes collapsing, sinkholes opening. Now, gosh, I mean, I could just keep going on. Another thing that occurred down here in Fort Stockton, Texas. Fort Stockton had a new fault line open, 15 feet deep, several miles long, extending south towards the border. Okay, now, just so happens, down here south of the border, you see this area right here. I put out a video several months ago showing steam plumes erupting from this direct spot, from that volcano. And a series of other spots going all the way down through Mexico and extending up here now into the Pacific Northwest, going up into Nevada. At Mono Lake, California, supervolcano, where in August 2nd, we saw a series of plumes erupt. Now we got the military deployed up here at Hawthorne doing water checks, and to top it all off, we have Colorado shut off aquifer access for no real good reason that I can find. Overall, it's a lot to go through, folks, and if you're just watching one of my videos for the first time, I really feel for you because I'm trying to explain the best I can without going into a 2-hour-long presentation on Earth changes. And unfortunately, you'd have to understand that we're going through a series of large earthquakes and volcanic eruptions globally. And if you're wondering from your local officials if you're ever going to get an answer as to why, you're going to be waiting a very long time for them to give you an answer as to why this is occurring. What I can tell you is that the pressure is going to continue, and you can pretty much expect further collapse, you can expect further salt dome troubles, and we need to find out how close that butane well is to this sinkhole. That's going to determine everything in the near term, trouble-wise, for Bayou Corn. But overall, we're looking at more salt dome releases in the long term until this activity dies out along the West Pacific. And that just seems to keep on going and going and going. Just look at it. I mean, look at the spillover going over into Europe. I mean, just along the line there, I mean, it's wild. We got a real serious situation going on here, folks. I cannot stress enough to have a plan and be prepared. You know, these people down in Louisiana, they got evacuated at a moment's notice. They couldn't take everything with them, and they can't get back into their houses. And now there's the threat that it could fully explode. I mean fully explode if 1.5 million barrels of liquid butane gets released into the air and it reaches an ignition source outside. You're looking at a massive explosion unlike anything that's ever happened in the United States. Save a nuclear test. Hang in there, folks. Much love. Crazy times.